The January 6th Congressional Committee is expected to hold its next and likely final hearing this Thursday in prime time. Lawmakers on the panel have already accused Donald Trump of failing to call off the Capitol insurrection for hours. And this week's hearing is expected to reveal more evidence of what the former president was doing that day. With that as our focus, let's bring in Melody Barnes, former director of the Domestic Policy Council under President Obama. She's now executive director of the Karsh Institute of Democracy at the University of Virginia. And Hugo Lowell is back with us, congressional reporter for The Guardian, who's been at the forefront of the reporting on the committee. It's great to have the both of you with us. And Hugo, a few of the committee members appeared on the Sunday shows today, and they said that they intend to show minute by minute what Donald Trump was doing, I guess, or more to the point, not doing, from the moment he left that rally stage at the Ellipse, returned to the White House, was in the White House dining room watching the insurrection for hours on TV, and refusing to do what many of his aides and allies were telling him to do, which was to call it off. Fill in the gaps. What more do we expect on Thursday? And is their goal to show criminal action, criminal intent?
Well, I think you got it right. They are really focused on this inaction part, both in terms of a dereliction of duty, as you would expect a president to do, but also a dereliction of duty from a criminal statute sense, right? There's a statute that says, you through action or inaction, did you obstruct a official proceeding or a congressional proceeding? And they want to show that Trump, through his inaction, by sitting in that White House, by sitting in the White House dining room, looking at the violence unfolding and yet doing nothing, not sending a tweet, not going to the briefing room, they want to show that he was derelict in his duty and therefore is responsible for a crime.
And Melody, Adam Schiff, who, as you know, sits on the committee, he makes the point that it is extremely unusual for Congress, or for that matter, a local DA's office, using the case of what's happening in Fulton County, Georgia, to be so far out ahead of the DOJ on a matter like this when the DOJ has greater resources. Is that a view that you share?
Well, I think that the Department of Justice in many ways has been relying on and watching these hearings very carefully because the Select Committee has been able to use subpoena power at a different level, at a different standard than the Department of Justice would be required to. They've been able to gather information to start to shape their case. It is my understanding, listening to what Chairman Thompson has been saying, what Congresswoman Cheney has said, that there have been conversations with the Department of Justice and that they are starting to build, I don't know if it's a case, but certainly gather more information to determine whether or not they can go forward. But there is no question that Georgia and the DA there in Fulton County is much further ahead with the subpoenas that they have issued and specific people that we know are in their sights.
What about that, Hugo? What do you hear from committee members on that specific issue? What they expect the DOJ to do next, if anything?
I think the committee members have been complaining a lot publicly that DOJ hasn't been doing very much, or they've been slow to respond to evidence that the committee has, or that DOJ has responded. I think it's important to note, though, two things. First of all, that the Department of Justice has impaneled at least 2 grand juries looking into people very, very close to Trump. They have a grand jury impaneled investigating the rally organizers on January 6th, and they have a grand jury impaneled investigating the lawyers close to the former president involved in the fake elector scheme. And then separately, the Attorney General has said that he has asked the Office of Legal Counsel, the internal policy shop in the Department of Justice, whether he is precluded from opening investigation into former president, to which he was told he wasn't. And so I think there's a lot of kind of effort going on behind the scenes that the Justice Department can't confirm publicly, but there does seem to be indications that the Justice Department is, I think, ramping up their investigation in ways that we might not have seen previously.
While you have your, I guess, virtual reporter's notebook open, give us a sense, what's happening with these deleted texts on the part of the Secret Service? The committee has asked to have those whatever records exist to be turned over by Tuesday in advance of this Thursday hearing. Congressman Kinzinger was on, again, one of the Sunday shows today. He says he has no idea what this committee will get because he doesn't know if any of the texts were backed up.
Right, and that's what they heard from the Inspector General for the DHS on Friday. They had a briefing behind closed doors, and according to my reporting, the DHS Inspector General told them things that really worried them. First of all, that the Secret Service's story about how these text messages got deleted keeps changing. At one point it was software updates, and then later it was, we swapped out devices and they weren't backed up, and so we don't have the text messages from January 5 and January 6, like 2 of the most crucial dates, when you're investigating the insurrection. And so I think that was why the Select Committee moved so fast in issuing these subpoenas for after-action reports that we understand never actually took place. as well as these text messages, to see if they can do any sort of reconstruction, any sort of evidence gathering to see if they can piece together what was going on inside the Secret Service.
And Melody Barnes, as the committee has been having these hearings, there has been, even before these hearings started, a normalization on the right of January 6th being something of a protest rally that went sort of off the rails rather than what it was, which was an attack on our democracy. What do you think is the impact of that, and just the way that the American public views the functions of the government, given the many bombshells, revelations that have come forth from this committee's work product?
Obviously, we have to understand what's going on in the here and now, but the long-term implications of this for democratic institutions, democratic practices, and democratic culture are quite significant. At this point, when you get to days that the public are hearing about, like December 18th and this meeting that's been described as unhinged, I think anyone from the Reagan to either Bush administration to Clinton to Obama would tell you that isn't the way the presidency is supposed to work. And you've got a roving band of people spreading misinformation being whisked into the White House not under normal circumstances. That's bizarre. That's wrong. And all of this by some is being normalized. I think that is a significant threat. We are teetering on the edge. And for people who don't understand that, this is the moment to wake up, that we are teetering on the edge when it comes to the underpinnings of our democracy.
And Hugo, in the 30 seconds we have left, I mentioned at the outset that this is likely the final hearing, but we heard from committee members today that it may not be. What more should we expect?
Yeah, and according to my sources, there may even be a second set of hearings towards the end of August, right? I mean, this is still very much an ongoing investigation, and that's what we keep hearing from the chairman of the Select Committee and other members.
Hugo Lowell and Melody Barnes, thanks so much for being with us.